There are speeches that are remembered, and then there are speeches that change lives. In 2005, a man in his signature black turtleneck stepped onto a stage at Stanford University. He wasn't a professor. He hadn't even finished college. But what he said that day has echoed for decades across lecture halls, office spaces, startups, living rooms, and the hearts of millions. That man was Steve Jobs. His message? It wasn't about technology. Not really. It wasn't about Apple or iPhones or billion-dollar valuations. It was about life. It was about finding meaning, facing fear, and trusting that the dots will connect. Today, we're going to explore that speech. Not just quote it, but break it down, story by story, and uncover the deep truths that made it unforgettable. Because at the heart of Jobs' message are three stories. Three raw, personal, and brutally honest stories. Three stories that, if truly understood, can reshape how we work, how we love, and how we live. Part 1. Connecting the dots. Let's start with the first story. Jobs called it connecting the dots. He begins with a confession. He dropped out of college, not because he was lazy, not because he didn't care, but because he didn't see the value in spending his parents' entire life savings on something that didn't feel meaningful. So, he dropped out. But he didn't stop learning. He began dropping in on the classes that intrigued him. No degree required, no roadmap, just curiosity. One of those was a calligraphy class, a course that had no practical application at the time. But years later, when he was designing the first Macintosh computer, that seemingly random class resurfaced in his memory. The Mac became the first computer with beautiful typography, fonts, kerning, spacing, all because a college dropout once wandered into a calligraphy class. Jobs said, "You can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backward." So many of us demand certainty. We want to know the plan, the outcome, the guarantee. But what if the real magic is in letting go of the plan? What if the truth is that life isn't linear? It's messy, unpredictable, and full of hidden gifts that only make sense in hindsight. Every job you hated, every rejection letter, every wrong turn, every random passion, they may seem disconnected now. But one day, when you least expect it, they might all line up, like stars forming a constellation. That is the beauty of trusting the process. Part 2. Love and Loss. Jobs' second story was about love and loss. He said, "I was lucky I found what I loved to do early in life." At just 20, he started Apple in a garage. By 30, he was fired from the very company he built. Let that sink in. The man behind Apple got fired from Apple. Most would have crumbled, but Jobs didn't. Because beneath the humiliation, the anger, the pain was love. Love for his work. So, he started over. He launched Nex. He acquired Pixar. He kept creating. And then, in a twist of fate, Apple bought Nex. Steve Jobs returned to Apple. Stronger, wiser, more focused. Looking back, he said, "Getting fired from Apple was the best thing that could have ever happened to me." Think about that. Sometimes the worst moments in our lives, the ones we think we'll never recover from, are actually blessings in disguise. If you've ever lost something you loved, your job, a relationship, your direction. Remember this. It doesn't mean the story is over. It might just mean it's changing chapters. Jobs reminds us that the key isn't avoiding failure. The key is loving what you do so deeply that not even failure can break you. Because passion isn't just inspiration, it's resilience. And when you find that kind of love for your craft, your calling, your work, you'll keep going, no matter what. Part 3. Death. Now, the third story, the most powerful of all. It's about death. Jobs shared that at age 17, he read a quote: "If you live each day as if it were your last, someday you'll most certainly be right." That thought stayed with him his entire life. He would stand in front of the mirror each morning and ask, "If today were the last day of my life, would I want to do what I'm about to do today?" And when the answer was no for too many days in a row, he knew something had to change. In 2003, Steve Jobs was diagnosed with a rare form of pancreatic cancer. Doctors told him he had just months to live. He said, "Remembering that you are going to die is the best way I know to avoid the trap of thinking you have something to lose. Let that land." Death isn't the enemy, it's the clarifier. It strips away ego, fear, insecurity. When you realize your time is limited, you start living differently. You stop waiting for the perfect moment. You stop caring what others think. You stop putting off your dreams. You begin to speak more honestly, love more fiercely, take more risks, forgive faster, and live more fully. Jobs ended this part of his speech with quiet urgency. He said, "Your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life." As he closed his speech, Steve Jobs uttered a line that has since become iconic: "Stay hungry, stay foolish." It wasn't a command, it was an invitation. To stay curious, to keep exploring, to dare, even when you don't know how it ends. To be bold enough to chase the dots, to be brave enough to love the work, and to be wise enough to face death with grace. Steve Jobs left behind devices that changed how we communicate. But more than that, he left behind words that can change how we live. So ask yourself, are you staying hungry? Are you staying foolish? Are you trusting the dots, loving what you do, living like you could die tomorrow? Because one day, that will be true. And on that day, what will matter is how you lived today.